B, bringing it to you from American Place Casino, our home away from home in the land of Lincoln. We are happy to be joined right now by our pal Aaron Nagler of CheeseheadTV.com. Our Packers go-to guys are presented by Rodgers Behavioral Health, Hildebrand Law, The Great Taste of Miller Lite, and Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference. Good afternoon, Nags. How you doing?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm doing fantastic on this Monday afternoon. Beautiful bye week. Get ready for Bears week. I'm good to go.
Bears week. Are the Bears ready for Bears week? We'll get to that momentarily. But usually, KB and I, when you want to feel better about yourself, I suggest you go hang out at the Wisconsin State Fair, which sadly is not running right now, or
make yourself feel thin.
Go to the Greyhound station and play, gee, I'm glad I'm not that guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel better about the Packers today than I have for weeks because I consumed a lot of the rest of the NFL. And Nags, there's a lot of flotsam and jetsam out there.
There really is. I mean, the haves and have-nots, no question about it. You look at some good teams, of which, there's probably a handful, I'd say 5 or 6. And then after that, it is hard to watch at times. I mean, there are some teams that are either in transition or just kind of stuck with what they've got because of ownership, what have you. But man, yeah, you're absolutely right. Going across the league yesterday, sitting on my couch from 9:30, watching the game in Munich all the way till the bitter end last night when the Lions pulled it out. I mean, yeah, you should feel a whole lot better about the Green Bay Packers. I know Packers fans were probably kind of licking their wounds coming off that game against the Lions a couple weeks ago. But man, a week to get right health-wise, now hit this stretch on the back end. I'm feeling great, man.
The Lions should have lost. The Vikings should have lost.
Yeah,
I mean,
no
Chiefs should have lost.
No doubt about it. But that's the razor-thin margin, right? I mean, that's the other part. Like, those are teams that know how to win. Even with throwing 5 interceptions, the Lions absolutely clamped down on the Texans in the second half last night. And I understand, like, some of that is poor play calling or execution by the Texans, but the Lions had something to say about that. And they showed they can win more than one way. So there's lots of work to be done for the Packers. But, yeah, looking around the league, you got to feel probably a lot better than you were feeling as a Packers fan last weekend.
Well, Drew said flotsam and jetsam. I don't know that much about flotsam, but I'll talk about the jetsam because, damn.
Getting crushed in the desert.
I think Aaron Rodgers' career, I think, is just about winding down. I don't think he's going to see 45, unfortunately. He's just not pulling up on the stick, at least not with that team.
No way. Exactly. And the thought that this is a team that still has the second half of the season to go in what is supposed to be, quote unquote, the easier part of their schedule. But man, it didn't look like they got off the bus in Arizona. It looked like a team that just did not want to be there, whether that was the offense as it has consistently this season with Rodgers at the helm, kind of just fits and starts, but definitely not on the same page. And then you look at the defense. This was supposed to be what they were going to count on. The side of the ball that was supposed to help win games. They had more missed tackles than I have seen in forever. A team that just looks like they've given up. And that's obviously not a great spot for an aging quarterback desperate to get back to the Super Bowl. Sure doesn't feel like there's a run the table in Rodgers' future with the Jets this year. Absolutely.
Well, the problems that ran into in Green Bay, the fact of the age discrepancy, an incredibly young team and an older quarterback and not being able to relate, none of that changed when he went east.
Nope, absolutely not. I mean, it doesn't matter how many guys you bring in that he knows, exactly. Like the trade for Devontae Adams was the last kind of gasp there. I just don't see it working. It certainly suggests itself that this could probably be his last year in the NFL, which is absolutely, as a Packers fan, kind of sad to think about because we've had Aaron just as a quarterback to watch and enjoy for a real long time now. But, man, there's not a whole lot of enjoying going on when Aaron's on the field these days.
No. Talking to Aaron Nagler, CheeseheadTV.com. Jets, Giants, Cowboys, Bears, Colts, and obviously like Carolina. There's a lot of teams that you just wouldn't want to be rooting for these days.
At all. Because that's the thing. You're here halfway through the season, and you can honestly say they're done. Like, they're already turning their eyes towards the draft, right? Like, I understand that there's Packers fans who have misgivings about certain aspects of this team, which I understand. But there is absolutely nothing to suggest that this team can't figure things out and go on some kind of run, yes, even to a Super Bowl. Whereas man, half the league, probably over half the league, they're done. It's over. They're looking at draft choices. They're watching college football with the hopes that those guys might be on my team next year. We got a lot of football left to play in Green Bay. And I'd say a little under, maybe even half the NFL is ready for the draft.
I think all you need to know is if you listen to our football feast on Thursday nights, the last segment we do is we pick the games. And what is heard most often coming out of our mouths is, oh God, does this game suck? I mean, there's a lot of that.
Well, yeah,
there is.
Giants,
I think a lot of
Panthers.
I think a lot of that gets, people don't really want to talk about it because it's on the ownership level, which is somewhat boring if you're a sports fan. You just want to talk about the games. But man, teams that are so impatient and they start over again and again and again, nothing is allowed to take root. There's no real kind of foresight as, okay, we've got to let this kid being the quarterback or this coach, maybe it's his first time out of the gate, really find their legs and learn how to do things at the NFL level in that position. There's just no patience across the board for a lot of these owners. So you see teams again starting again, and it's probably going to happen again in Chicago. They refuse to do what they should have done literally like 4 regimes ago, blow it up and start all over with a GM and a coach that are allowed to work together. But it sure feels like, we're heading into Bears week, and I don't know if you guys have seen some of the clips floating around social media from Bears post-game radio. It's hilarious if you're a Packers fan, but it's the same thing again and again and again, where they have a coach who inherits a quarterback or gets a quarterback, but he inherits a GM, and they never line these things up. And they're about to do it again, but because they're probably going to fire their coach at the end of the season.
They just keep remodeling a double wide.
Yes.
Instead of just buying a new
beyond
house.
Horrible. Well,
Right.
Now that said, that's who the Packers face next. And we were talking about the Bears' schedule is brutal. They have 2 games left against the Lions, 2 against the Vikings, 1 against the Packers, 49ers lurking. They're in the discussion again to have the number 1 overall pick. Likely, they're going to be in that team photo. But next, let's focus on the Packers because they face the Bears coming off a bye. Right. The big story is going to be health. What do you think the Packers were looking at self-scouting wise? What maybe Robert Saleh tweak? Any tweaks that you would suggest or that we might see beginning Sunday at Soldier Field?
Yeah, I don't think it's a big thing, but one for each side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, and I think we will see some of this, hopefully, if Jordan's closer to right than he has been. I think they got to get Love under center a whole hell of a lot more. And not just for the run game, but to work the play action game that was so effective down the stretch last year. Those last 5 or 6 games, they got the run game going with Aaron Jones, and they really married the play action game off of that. And it was insanely effective. And I think it seemed to help Jordan as far as limiting his interceptions, giving him delineated reads off that play action. He seemed to do really well. I suspect, again, if Jordan's closer to healthy, no one's ever 100% in the NFL season, but if he's closer to his full range of health, LaFleur indicated after the game that one of the reasons they haven't been able to do a lot of that is because of the injuries that Jordan's been dealing with. If they can get back to that, I think that's something that could really kind of jumpstart the offense and take it to an even higher level. On the defensive side of the ball, I think it's about getting your best players on the field, especially at inside linebacker. I know Quay Walker's a former first-round pick and Eric Wilson's a journeyman, but it seems a pretty easy switch, and Wilson seems to be a lot more effective, even though he's coming off a pretty pedestrian game against the Lions. I just think Edgerrin Cooper, Eric Wilson, maybe you mix in, depending on the package and the opponent, a few of the other guys. But, man, when Quay is out there, he's making a lot of tackles, which looks good in the box score, but he's getting taken advantage of. He's getting washed out in the run game. It is hard to wash. And so I just think if you're Blake Martinez-esque, no doubt. And if you're a defensive coach and you're sitting here over the past week saying, what can we do? I think, as far as looking at yourself, self-critically, I think that's a pretty obvious switch. And now, will they make that change? I don't know. Draft kind of capital and your draft investment goes a long way in the NFL at times, and I suspect that's what's happening with Quay. But we'll see what they do in that regard.
Evan Williams and Jair Alexander obviously have to get healthy. You mentioned Jordan Love. Did the bye come at a perfect time? The old cliche in terms of
it is cliche to say it, right? Because you're always hurt in the NFL, and whoever's hurt needs that bye to rest up. But it feels like it did, and it feels like it's a perfect placement season-wise, as far as, okay, let's regroup and look at the things we did well and kind of improve on the things where we need to, sitting at 6-3, certainly in a better spot than they were at this point last year, and setting up for a run that's really difficult, man. They have a tough schedule. There is no way to sugarcoat it. They're in for a real tough run here. Some quick turnarounds. Playing that Thursday nighter against the Lions in a couple weeks, that's going to be tough. There's no doubt they're traveling west to face Seattle. Obviously, they got the 49ers coming into town. So that's why they got to take care of business in Chicago. That's a team they should beat. But, man, the Bears were thinking, oh, the Patriots are a team we should beat. And we all saw what happened yesterday. So, yeah, there's no doubt that this is a perfectly placed bye as far as kind of resituating yourself for the backside of the schedule.
4 games in 18 days beginning Sunday, right?
That's a tough one. That is a
tough block. Bears, 49ers, both physical games, right? No matter what.
No question.
And then the quick turnaround with the Dolphins, and then the Lions, like you said, back-to-back Thursday games is weird.
Very weird.
There's a curveball coming.
I will say, though, finally the NFL did the right thing as far as, okay, if we're going to put these games on Thursday night in Lambeau, at least we got 2 games in Green Bay inside of 1 week. We got that 49ers game and then the Dolphins game on Thanksgiving night. And it's a night game. I'm about the night game on Thanksgiving. I don't like having my meal there in the morning and then fretting and getting nervous and being all anxiety ridden during the game because like I'm eating, but their game is on. Like I can do all that. I can enjoy the festivities. I can enjoy time with my family and then relax and watch the game at night. I'm down.
That was the question that I was going to ask you regarding Thanksgiving. You know, giving the narcotic effect of tryptophan, when do you eat Thanksgiving dinner with a night game? Do you eat a late dinner? Do you eat an early dinner, then nap, and then get up?
I'll have that at like 11:30, noon.
Okay, so early dinner, nap.
Well, here's the thing.
Yes.
If the
leftovers.
If the NFL is your backdrop, is this day presented by Maylocks or what? Because the Bears stink. They're playing at the Lions. That should be a stomping. Yep. And then you got the Giants at the Cowboys, 2 of the worst teams to watch in the middle of the day when people are eating a lot. That should come with a parental guidance warning.
That is perfect nap time is what that is. Bag. You know, wake fun of the Bears in the early window, go to sleep for the Cowboys game, and then wake up and watch the Packers dominate the Dolphins.
You know what?
That's what we want.
I just have this gut feeling the Bears are going to win on Thanksgiving just because the Lions just going to look, they're going to ruin it for everybody.
Has happened, man. Crazier stuff has happened. There's no question.
Your logic is not flawed there. But yeah, it's just sheesh. What else did we learn like this week? Nags, I just feel better about the Packers in general. The G was light this weekend because of everything that I saw around the league. There isn't any I haven't seen anybody that scares you other than Detroit, and even that game the Packers couldn't get out of their own way. And if that's the measuring stick,
and look,
Detroit and Kansas City, the Packers can punch in that class.
If Jared Goff can throw 5 picks in one game, I mean, the Packers can get to them and make that happen when they get to Detroit. There's no question about it. One exciting development, and it's not a huge kind of earth-shattering, movement or supposed move, but the Packers seemingly are set to bring rookie running back Marshawn Lloyd off of injured reserve and open his 21-day practice window starting on Wednesday. Man, for a running game that has already been pretty darn exciting, really effective, I think this kid could maybe not be James Starks down the stretch back in the day, but I do think he could bring a really exciting kind of counterpunch to Josh Jacobs. And I think Chris Brooks, Emmanuel Wilson have done really good work so far, but this kid was taken in the 3rd round for a reason. And a lot of guys thought he was the best back in the draft this year. To add that to this mix with this Packers offense, that could be really exciting.
He's definitely going to have fresh legs.
I would
seriously.
I would love to see the Packers mix it up and come out against the Bears and just run, and wear them down. And
that's the best way to attack this. That's the best way to attack this Bears team. No question about it. Yes. I mean, for all their trials, tribulations, and the way we all get to make fun of them each and every year, each and every week, there's no question about it. They still have a damn good defense, and they do have particularly a pass rush and a passing defense that will get you into a lot of trouble if you're not careful. And I do think, yes, 1,000,000,000%, get off the bus running the football on Sunday in Chicago, no doubt.
All right, Nags, my prescription, what I want to see in the second half from the Packers is a little bit more love under center and the screen game. And I don't know, maybe use the tight ends. Or I remember when Aaron Jones would line up in the backfield and they'd send him deep. I mean, I don't
Oh,
know if
yeah.
we can do that with Josh Jacobs. Can he blow by a linebacker? I would think. But something of that ilk, I want to see them do that for some higher percentage completions maybe, and just to
Right.
keep
I
rolling and
think-
keep the sticks moving.
Yes, a billion percent agree. And I think a big component of what you're talking about is getting Jordan Love in a rhythm. He is such a seemingly streaky quarterback, you know, and one of the things they did really well down the stretch last year, again, working off play action, is give him delineated reads. So you read, usually the old cliche is touchdown to check down, right? You're going your high read, you're going to your medium read, and then you hit your check down. Both of those are unavailable, and then you live to see another day. I think that will help him, no question about it. And to your point about maybe, you know, the traditional screen game, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see something that the Patriots had a lot of success with, utilizing the 2 tight end sets where they have, you know, Hunter Henry, who everyone knows and suspects is going to get the ball. And you could tell the Bears thought he was going to be maybe not their number 1 target, but a consistent threat in the passing game. But Hooper, their backup tight end, was out there for a whole bunch of those plays, and he ended up being a real thorn in the Bears' side. I think you could do that with Ben Sims easily. Like the kind of things that the Patriots were doing were not overly complicated. They weren't asking him to be an insane athlete. But that's the thing where, you know, Tucker Kraft is going to draw a whole bunch of attention when he's on the field. Get your second tight end involved. Get that fullback / H-back type involved. I think there's a real kind of formula there that the Packers can utilize from what we saw. It was really successful for the Patriots yesterday.
Yep, they've not tapped that. I hope they do. Nags, great run as always. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for carrying the G and confirming my suspicions that I feel better about the Packers because this league is wide open. Even
It's
at the top, it's wide
open.
open.
Mhm.
Absolutely wide open. Look, man, we lost to the Lions, but we didn't give it the best shot that we've got. We all know that. And I think it'll look very, very different in Detroit in a couple weeks. I have zero doubt.
We hope so. Thanks, Nags.
Thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you next
Thanks,
week.
Nags.
All right.